Let's continue on our review. Our test is going to be tomorrow. I am recording this so that you can go back and look at it if you have questions. Now, we did the first sheet on the first side on Friday. So we reviewed on Friday. That recording's up for you guys to look at if you need to. I'm going to quickly review this again, this first sheet, and then we're going to get into the second sheet so that you know what you're doing on that also. This is what it is. This is the first page, and then I flip the page, and it's the second page. That's what's on your practice. No. All right. Standard deviation, or deviation, I should say. We work with that. We have to have it in the y equals kx form. If we can't get it into that form, then it doesn't have a deviation. If it can get it into that form, k is our deviation. So if I take a look at negative 8y equals 2x, negative 8y equals 2x, if I divide by negative 8 on both sides, I get y equals negative 2/8 x, and if I reduce this, it's y equals negative 1/4 x. That is my deviation, negative 1/4, and it does come out into this form here, so we know that it has a deviation to it, right? Okay? If we do another one here, like 3x plus 4y equals 5, if I subtract 3x from both sides, right away we should notice there's a negative 5 sitting out there that we can't really get rid of. It is not going to fit into this form here, right, because there's going to be a minus 5 on there. We should know there is no deviation of this one. Or variation, would say deviation? Yeah, very constant variation, direct variation. All right, so that was the first part. Hopefully you remember that. Any questions on it? Any questions how to do that? Okay, the next one is going to be using the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. We have to know this form. We are going to be writing equations in this form. All right? We know that the m is our slope. We know the b is our y-intercept. So if I look at this first one, Ken, what is my, in this one here, what is my slope? Negative 2. M equals negative 2. That's my slope. What's my y-intercept, Jade? 7. So my y-intercept equals, 7. Okay? Should be real easy to find, right? Anybody have questions on how you find that? In this case here, that's all it's asking for. Find the slope, find the y-intercept. That's all you have to do. The next one down below, it's giving you your slope, and it's giving you your y-intercept. You just plug it into this equation. M equals negative 5, so y equals negative 5. X, and then I've got a negative 6, so it's a plus negative 6. Or if we were going to write this out, y equals a negative 5x minus 6. Either way you give it to me is fine. If you do it by putting parentheses around a negative, say a plus, a negative 6, and you leave it like that, I'm okay with it. It shows me you know what goes where. That's what I'm interested in. All right? I mean, somebody's talking about you. Really? I don't know. All right. All right, the next one, this is going to be the toughest of them all. Listen up. This is going to be the toughest of them all. I'm going to give you 2 points. You have to be able to put that into an equation. Y equals mx plus b. It should be in this form when you're done. Okay? It should be in that form. What's the first thing we need to find? Libby? Slope. What's the slope equation? X1. What's the difference in what it says? It's always our rise over our run, isn't it? Yep. Rise, our y-axis, over our run, which is our x-axis. So it's always in that form. So it's always y over x. And what the slope is, when we find it on 2 points, what's the difference between my y's? What's the difference between them? I subtract them, right? And what's the difference between my x's? I subtract them. Remember the change in y over the change in x? How much it changes? That's the difference, all right? So in this case here, I'm going to write this out as my slope equals 2 minus 0 over negative 1 minus 0, which equals a negative 2. It's negative 2 over, or it's 2 over negative 1, or just negative 2. Now I've got my slope. How do I write my equation? Y, what equation do I use? Point slope form. Now we use the point slope form here. Ben? Y minus y1 equals our slope times x minus x1. We just grab one of the points. Doesn't matter which one we grab. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plug it in. Y minus, should we use 0, 0? Yeah, that's the easiest one, right? Y minus 0 equals my slope, which is negative 2, times x minus 0. You see what we're doing? Can? All we did was we took one of the points. We figured out the slope, right, JD? Figured out the slope. And then we just took one of the points and we plugged it into that point slope form. See what it is? You're not seeing that? Okay. You saw how we got our slope here, right? Okay, all right. Now this point slope form here, that equation is right here. It's in the green right here, okay? And if you notice, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. My m we just figured out, right? We just figured out the slope. And now this y1 and x1, that's just one of these coordinates points right here.
Where did you get the 0 from?
0, 0. You can choose either point. Doesn't matter which point you choose. I can choose either one. It's going to come out the same. But 0, 0 is probably easier to work with, right? Yes, Trevor.
How is it possible that if you put two different numbers in the same equation, you get the same answer?
Because you're multiplying through and you're going to have to subtract through here. All right. Negative 1 here is going to be a plus 1. We multiply that by a negative 2, it's negative 2, right? We put 2 over here. This is a negative 2. We got a negative 2 on both sides. They go away. Just like the zeros would go away. Okay? It's just the way the coordinate points are set up. So, JD, do you see what we're doing? 0, 0 is that coordinate point right there. See how we got that? Okay? So once I get to here, y minus 0 is just y equals negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. This is all I've got. Does that equation have a direct variation?
Yes, and it's
Negative 2 is direct variation on that one. Yes, we don't have to figure that out in there, but that's what it is. Okay? Does that help? Do one more? Let's do one more. Okay. JD, you and I are going to work on this one together. First thing we have to find, let's do this point right here. Or that one right there. First thing we have to find. Slope. The slope, okay. So M equals what? 9 minus 6. There you go. So we figure that out. That would be 3 on top over negative 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Be a negative 1, right? So we've got our slope. What's the next thing we need? Point slope form. And what is that? Y minus y1 equals M times, if you can't remember it, look up there. That's what that's there for. Mm-hmm. 1. Okay? So now, which point do you want to use? The negative 2, 9 or the 1, 6? 1, 6? Okay, so you tell me what I have to write here. Y minus, what's my Y1 up in here? 6 equals my M. What's my M? Negative 1. Okay? X minus 1. See how we did that? Okay. All right. Leave them alone. So let's solve this. Y minus 6 equals negative X plus 1. Add 6 to both sides. Y equals negative X plus 7. That's our final. See how we did that? A little bit, connecting a little bit? Okay, good. Good. That's all right. You're understanding how we're using that point slope form, right? Okay, that's what I want you to know. I want to know that you know how to use that equation. Okay? Okay. There is no direct variation to that one. Yeah, that's just the equation because we have our plus 7 on there, so we can't have a direct variation. All right? All right. So we've gone through this. Are there any questions on how to use point slope form? Any questions on how to use it? All right. Let's jump down to our second page now. On this one here, the first one, we have to find the x and y intercept. Remember, we do this. Set x equals 0, set y equal to 0. When you have to find the x and y intercept, you do this. That's what you put on your page right there. Everybody see that? And then I'm going to take a look and say, okay, I'm going to do this first one here. X plus y equals 7. And if I put 0 in for x plus y equals 7, this goes away. My y equals 7, right? I can just put 7 right there. It's that easy. Okay? If I want it, then I have to figure it for when y equals 0, x plus 0 equals 7. This goes away, x equals 7. It's that easy. No, this is going to be finding your x and y intercepts. Let's take one that's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to do number 3. All right? I do my t-chart, x and y. 0 for x, 0 for y. That should be the first thing you do on this. I've got 2x. I'm going to put 0 in for x. I got 2x plus 3y equals negative 6. 2 times 0 plus 3y equals negative 6. This goes away. I multiplied it by 0. It goes away. I'm left with 3y equals negative 6. Divide by 3. Y equals negative 2. Bam, I can put negative 2 right there. On the test, I want to see your work, how you get it. All right, don't do it without doing work, because then I think you copied. All right? 1. Yeah. Now we'll put in 0 for y, 2x. That's an x, believe it or not. I'm here to tell you, that was an x. X plus 3 times 0 equals negative 6. 3 times 0 is 0. I take that away. 2x equals negative 6. X equals negative 3. I put a negative 3 in here. People, this is all. I need to see this, but I need to see work too. But that's your answer. That is your answer right there. What's that? Here, look at this. All right, these are my answers. Put 0 in for y. All I'm left with here, Jade, is 2x, and I divide by 2. All right? Any questions on how I do this? You're going to have a few of these on the test.
How do you do it? I'm just kidding. I know how to do it.
All right. All right. The next one goes back to the point slope form again. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Pay attention. You're going to have to give me 2 equations. One's going to be a horizontal line to this equation. The other one's going to be a perpendicular line to that equation. Horizontal and perpendicular. I'm giving you a point, and I'm giving you an equation. First, what equation do I use up here to figure it out? Point slope form. Point slope form. So what do I need first? My slope, right? Where's my slope here? 3, right there. That's all I'm using that equation for, is to get the slope. All right? That's all I'm getting out of that equation is a slope. So I know right away that my slope equals 3 because it tells me right there. And then I'm doing it off this point, 3, 2. All right? Now, the first one we look at is going to be a parallel line. Parallel line means it uses the same slope. That's all it tells us, is I'm using this same slope. So I can write this in a point slope form. Y minus 2. That's my y. Equals my slope, 3 times x minus 3. Okay, we're using that point slope form. All right, now I can figure this out. Y minus 2 equals 3x minus 9. Add 2 to both sides. Y equals 3x minus 7. This is my parallel equation. That's my parallel equation. how do I get my perpendicular? What is it, Libby?
You make the slope,
Inverse?
yeah,
Negative.
yeah.
So my perpendicular slope is going to be,
1,
this is 3 over 1, right? 1/3 and a negative. I flip it around, I make it a negative. That's my perpendicular slope. So now when I write this one, y minus 2. Notice that I'm using the same equation. The only thing I'm changing out is my slope. Negative 1/3. Instead of 3, I'm putting in negative 1/3 times x minus 3. Only thing I changed on there was my slope to get a perpendicular line. So I figure this out. Y minus 2 equals 1/3 or negative 1/3 x plus 1. Negative 1/3 times 3 is, or 1/3 times 3 is 1, right? Negative times negative is a positive. And then I add 2 to both sides. Y equals, let's go plus 2 here. Negative 1/3 x plus 3. This is my perpendicular equation. Now, these numbers here changed, but notice my slopes, 3 and negative 1/3. Notice that? This is an inverse negative of this one. It's just an inverse negative of this one. That makes it a perpendicular line to the other one. Right here? That's horizontal. Notice my slopes are the same. My slope here is 3. It's the same slope as this one here, 3. It has the same slope. Let's do another one. All right. Asia, what's my slope? What? Can't read it? Well, let me write the equation out for you. Y equals 2x plus 14. What's 2? Slope is 2, so I know my m is 2. I know my point here is -4, -1. I'm going to find my parallel line to that. I'm going to use the same slope as here. So y minus -1 or a +1 equals my slope, which is 2 times x minus a -4, which makes it a +4. Y plus 1 equals 2x plus 8. All I did was carried my 2 through. Y equals, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, 2x plus 7. This is my parallel. Why is it parallel? It has the same slope. Okay? Now let's figure my perpendicular. Because I have minuses here. -4 and -1. Yeah, because I'd have y minus a -1. Minus and minus makes positive. All right? All right. So now what is my perpendicular slope? JD, can you tell me what my perpendicular slope is? Well, I've got my slope here. It's really 2 over 1, right? So let's invert it. Make it 1/2. Right? Notice I just flipped it around. And then I make it a negative. See how I did that? That's your perpendicular slope. It's inverted and negative. So let's put it in here. Y plus 1 equals my slope, my perpendicular slope, which is -1/2, x minus, or I should say plus 4, right? Yeah.
Saying they're pluses because they're both negative.
Yes. So I get y plus 1 equals negative 1/2 x, when I carry this through, minus 2. 1/2, what's half of 4? 2. Negative times positive is negative. Add or subtract 1 from both sides, and I end up with y equals a negative 1/2 x minus 3. That is my perpendicular line. Notice the only thing different is changing that slope. That's the only thing different, Ben, is changing the slope. Okay, JT, how do we make it perpendicular? Negative. Good. All right. Questions on this? And last one says graph. You're going to graph these, and what you find is your x and y intercepts. So I do this. X, y, 0, 0. If I put 0 in for x, negative 5 times 0 plus y equals negative 10. This goes away, my y equals negative 10. Not yet, getting there. If I do it for y equals 0, that's x plus y equals, or plus 0, negative 10. I did the first one putting x 0. Came up y equal negative 10. Yes?
So when you solve it, then you put like go over 0 and knock down negative 10 on the graph?
Yeah, watch. Watch how easy this is. Negative 5x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 5. X equals 2. All right, so I do my graph, and I'm going to put graphs on there for you. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to say, okay, if my x is 0, and I go down 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's 1 point. And then I go x, y is 0, but I go over 2, 1, 2. There's my other point, and that's going to be my line, and I graph the equation. Okay? See how I got it? I will put graphs on the test for you. There will be graphs. All you have to do, and I may have you do this. I may have you doing this with the graphs instead of just doing this. So you don't have to do like 3 of them with just this and then later do 3 more and graph it. Okay? I'll put them all together so that you know how to find the x and y intercepts. So I need to see this, and I need to see the graph, and I need to see your work. Questions? Questions? Anything you want me to go over again? Anybody? All right.